This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
It's time for Emergence News on Plains FM 96.9, citizen-made radio.
Kia ora and welcome to Emergence News. Our pleasure to join you today on this program. And in the studio with me are Peter and John. Hi, guys.
Hi there.
Hello.
Very nice to see you here. And what a discussion we had on the last program. Around the table, bit of gossip.
A gossip. That's what it was, Nigel.
It was a bit of gossip.
Esoteric gossip.
Esoteric gossip. And I'd like to just continue that. If you would indulge me just for 2 or 3 minutes. Peter, we forgot to talk about a guy, we were talking about high initiates, a guy that popped up that really was quite an intriguing character in history was Francis Bacon.
Oh, yes.
In the 1600s. And he, of course, he was a lawyer and an MP, quite unpopular with Queen Elizabeth I at the time.
Yes.
It's a dangerous place to be.
It was a very dangerous place to be because he was even her advisor for a short period of time until she didn't like what he was talking about. Mm-hmm. But he actually got knighted by the king that took over from her.
Yeah, James.
Yeah. And proved to be a very significant member of Parliament,
yes,
Lord High Chancellor.
Yes, he was.
Near the end of his time. But you were saying off air that he had his hand was involved in the United States.
Yeah, in the Constitution. Yes, it was.
Very clever man. And also, the other thing is he's known as the father of modern science.
Yes, seventh ray soul. It's a man for the future, the new Aquarian age coming in. And the scientific, yes, he could write, when he was known as Saint Germain, he could write the same identical thing with each hand. You couldn't tell which one was right hand or which one was left hand. He could write them both at the same time.
Incredible, man.
And according to our list of initiates, there's been 2 Francis Bacon, one 1909 through to 1992. He was a 1.8, but the one you're talking about, Francis Bacon, 74463.
Yeah.
So 7th ray soul.
Yeah. But
it's
he was
really unusual.
Roger Bacon as well, 12th century.
Roger Bacon, yes.
And seventh ray soul.
Yes.
He was the same entity.
Yeah, 2.6 initiate in that.
Roger
2.6.
Bacon, and then he became Francis Bacon 400 years later.
I didn't know you could keep your same name when you incarnate.
Well, you have to, in the sense that, he's a soul, it's the soul ray you're talking about, which remains the same through your various lifetimes.
7.
Just as Jesus was a 6th ray soul.
Yes.
When he came through in his next life as Apollonius of Tyana, he was 6th ray soul. You'll see the structure.
Yeah, so the soul ray doesn't change.
Doesn't change.
But it's the personality, mental, emotional, physical.
The soul chooses the other ray.
They all change according to what your goals and aspirations are for that next lifetime.
But also it must be to do with where the planet is in the cosmos, right? Because the soul must be aware of incoming and outgoing energies.
Well, the whole solar system is ray too. Yeah.
Our solar system is, yeah. But it's moving through cosmos.
But what you've just touched on gives you a hint of just how big the subject of astrology is. It's and how interconnected all this is.
It is, yeah. I mean, this is what we don't understand. Every atom is interconnected with every other atom in the universe.
And when we talk about our incarnations as a soul, there is one, or there are 3 atoms that continue the journey in each of our lifetimes.
Right. Yeah. The soul ray, the physical, the astral, and the mental.
Fascinating
man,
stuff. All right,
so
look.
much going on. Isn't
Now, you did indulge me, guys. You indulged me for about 4 minutes
That's
there.
all you're getting. That's it.
4 minutes and 49 seconds, and that's all I'm getting, folks.
That's
Let's
it.
keep it moving. John,
Lock you out.
what are you covering today? You've got the laws of life on the table
I've
here.
got the laws of the purple book. I've got the laws of life, politics in the new age, and a few bits and pieces. Because I just wanted to capture some of how this started for me was we've talked about that we are souls having having a human experience rather than humans trying to reach for the spirit. And Cream and Maitreya talk about that life is spiritual, so that our processes, political, economic, social, must reflect that. But of course they don't. So I started down that path, and I've ended up in the laws of life having a bit of a fossick around.
We'll look forward to that in just a moment. And Peter, what have you got? What have you lined up?
Well,
here?
I've got something from Benjamin Cream's book, Maitreya's Mission, Volume 3, and I'm just looking at the, climate control, climate issues and that sort of thing. He sums it up very well.
I wanted to capture some thoughts and ideas from Maitreya on politics and the economy, because I've been thinking about how we manage dear old planet Earth, and it seems to me we're not great at politics or the economy. And here's some ideas on why that might be. And this is just some thoughts I've had, and then I'll dive into what really intelligent people think. Okay, number one, because of oligarchy. A small group of people controlling most of the world's resources and using the power and influence generated by that ownership to maintain their positions, therefore shaping the world and humanity to fulfill their own needs. That's why we're not good at politics and economics. Number two, because we are enthralled to materialism. That same small group, oligarchy, consistently produce a message and a philosophy offering humanity no other course but that of a consumer. Number three, this great conspiracy is called capitalism, and the genius of it, which makes me laugh, is that it is not hidden at all. It is out in the open. It's promoted and advertised. Here's a little segue. No billionaire needs to invent a vaccine to put a chip into your bloodstream. If that's the flavour of conspiracy you enjoy, he's already sold you, at great expense, a series of devices that do much more than any chip could. They track you night and day. What is suppressed and hidden are other options for managing this planet with a view to meeting the needs of all. So the conspiracy's out in the open. Number four, and the way out of this. Maitreya says share and save the world. Why? Sharing begets trust. Trust begets justice. Justice brings about peace. Simple, really.
Why do the politicians shudder at the thought of what you just uttered?
I tell you what, a dirty word in any parliament
sharing.
globally is share.
They don't like it.
They don't want to share. No, they can't share because they are me people, and their platform has been built around greed and individual kind of ambition.
And user pays economy. And it sounds logical, doesn't it? It sounds like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But it creates a selfish, competitive environment, doesn't it?
It deifies greed. It deifies greed, and it deifies over-consumerism, which the corporate monsters require to keep feeding their systems. To survive, yep. So I suspect currently there's probably millions of souls on this planet that are starting to agree with that. Sharing begets trust, trust begets justice, justice brings about peace. So anyway, I dived into my bookcase, grabbed Benjamin Cream's books, The Art of Living, Living Within the Laws of Life, and the other one, Maitreya's Teachings, The Laws of Life. And as usual, I got stuck on the first one I picked up and I didn't really move on. But first, a little diversion. One of the previous programs, I talked about even our heart can fall. Remember, Benjamin Cream gave a talk on that at a conference I went to. Anyway, page 26 of The Laws of Life. Gurus can fall. Many teachers and gurus have fallen through attachment to powers which manifested themselves through them either as a result of natural development or through the grace of the Lord. As soon as you try to claim anything for yourself, as soon as you identify with those powers, instead of understanding that you are the immortal soul and the powers belong to the Lord, you are lost. This is a difficult test, and even today the lives of many followers who identified with their guru or teacher have been shattered when the guru or teacher, forgetting the self within, attaches himself to material, mental or spiritual powers. Thus, some begin to accumulate wealth, some misuse thought and imprison others mentally, creating divisions and intolerance, instead of respecting the freedom of each individual.
So what you're saying there is that even attachment to spiritual powers is not the way to go, because those powers are not actually yours, are they?
The instruction is very clear: honesty, sincerity and detachment
Attachment,
to
yeah.
all things,
Everything.
including love. Right? Including love. So you've got to be detached. And Maitreya and Benjamin Creme talk endlessly about detachment. But anyway, I started into this new politics thing. Page 192, the will of the people. And Peter, we were talking earlier about the will of the people and how politics do not listen to the will of the people.
That's right, yeah.
So what Maitreya says, by the will of the Lord, the seed of awareness is cracking open now. People everywhere are becoming aware and will be unwilling to be dominated by others when their destiny is to be free. Governments everywhere will have to listen to the people. Government will be by the people, for the people. And so we are seeing globally in the year 2024 demonstrations all over the planet around a raft of different issues, right? But it is dissatisfaction with the status quo. It's dissatisfaction with the political system.
It's dysfunctional, isn't it?
Sometimes unexpressed, but certainly dissatisfaction. And that was written in 1988 by Maitreya, right? That came through Benjamin Creme in 1988. Right, so now globally we have a high degree of right-wing political endeavour, and we've talked about this before, I suspect is the rearguard action, right? More and more extreme forms of right-wing dictatorial government coming through, and clothed sometimes skillfully in a democratic model, but it's really not. Yeah. So anyway, future forms of government right across the world. Present political systems are being diluted and will eventually give birth to new systems of government, which will be much more representational. And here's a quote that I really like. Ordinary people, intellectual, educationalists and others from a variety of walks of life will find they have a genuine voice in government. This will replace control of the masses through ideology. Evolution means evolution towards freedom. Also 1988. So we are seeing this all across the political spectrum where the few are trying to maintain control. And here in New Zealand we are seeing quite extreme forms of political ideology trying to be sold to New Zealanders, and who are for the most part going, what are you on about? We can't do this anymore. It's the same old being grind out. So there's change happening everywhere. I just want to finish with this last quote. New political area. There is a purpose in life for everyone. It is divine to be a road sweeper or to sit on a throne. Everything is divine as long as whatever you do with detachment. Once again, coming through in Maitreya's teachings, honesty, sincerity and detachment.
Right, we've got this excerpt from Maitreya's Mission, Volume 3, on the global warming. The world is now suffering profoundly from the misuse of resources. We have polluted our planet so much that there is no person in the world today, probably except a master, who is free from pollution created by ourselves. The air, the earth, the oceans of the world are polluted to an extent that we are really endangering our own species and the subhuman kingdoms. This is the way the Earth is really suffering. These are the changes which have to be righted, the changes which are taking place in our immune system as a result of these polluting agencies. The husbandry of the world needs complete transformation. That is a change which will take place. Today, weather changes, which are real and dramatic, are to do with destructive thought forms of humanity itself. We affect the very weather. The political, economic and social imbalances in the world create imbalances in the devic elemental forces whose work it is to control the weather. When we go out of equilibrium, they go out of equilibrium. When by right relationships we bring about the end of war and the sharing of the world's resources, we will create justice in the world. When we create justice, we will create peace. And when we create peace, we will create harmony, equilibrium. When we create equilibrium, the elementals controlling the weather will themselves come back into equilibrium. It will rain occasionally, of course, but not at weekends. The environment is so polluted now, we have the greenhouse effect and the other major problems. The masters of our spiritual hierarchy, who are coming into the world with Maitreya, have the technology to neutralize the greenhouse effect, the pollution of the atmosphere, even the effects of nuclear radiation. We have to wind down the fission process of creating energies. What I am not advocating is, or even suggesting, is returning to the old days, humanity living in pastoral conditions and so on. We will still have prosperous, well-balanced modern lifestyle with all the technology which we are capable of inventing. We shall be given the blueprints of technology, which at the moment we cannot even begin to imagine. It would boggle the minds of the most advanced scientists.
So what they're referring to there, Peter, is technology which would be too dangerous to be released to humanity at this stage.
Yes, that's right. Yes. I mean, the technology of light, of course, is promised in many of Benjamin Crimm's work. But, of course, we have to get to a point where
we need to be able to
give up
exercise
war.
responsibility.
It's a degree of peace, isn't it, Peter? Like you said, we have to give up war.
Yeah.
Currently, it's the biggest industry on the planet. We have to give it up.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
once that happens, then the masters and the highly evolved space brothers can move in and help.
Yeah.
The cavalry are on the hill just waiting to come down.
Yeah.
And they need our invitation, but we need to start behaving ourselves.
Yeah. Yes, we've got disgusting habits.
I've said this before, the solar system's a lovely street and we're the junkyard neighbour. We're the neighbour that's got an open fire that's pumping out smoke every night. We're the neighbour that's got wrecked old cars in the front yard, leaking acid and leaking
into
oil
the drains.
Into the drains. We're the neighbour that hasn't done the garden for a couple of thousand years. We're the neighbour that has really bad rock music playing on Saturday night. We've got all sorts of bad habits, and our lovely neighbours in the rest of the solar system, this lovely street that we live in,
are exercising a lot of patience.
Tiptoeing around us and actually sneaking in every now and then and tidying up things when they get too bad for us. We're lucky to be alive. It's only our neighbours that are keeping us alive on some levels.
That's an astonishing fact that most people don't realise, that we have got friendly neighbours.
Oh, absolutely.
That are actually cleaning up some of the pollution.
Contributing to our lifestyle to keep us going.
And anyone who thinks that those nuclear tests in some remote part of the ocean isn't having an effect on our planet, on our weather, as you mentioned, Peter.
Well, I was just looking at a map last night, and I see Christmas Island, where they were doing nuclear testing years ago, and they say it's now clear. How close is it to Java? It looks like it's a hop, step and a jump. But, it was well away from Australia, so that was the main thing.
There's been some, look, as soon as we start behaving ourselves, help will be there. We've just got to start recognising our oneness. We've got to start recognising and understanding the spaceship that we're living on and start treating it with respect and acknowledging its divinity and acknowledging our own divinity. And if the Billionaire Boys Club think they're going to jump on a spaceship and go elsewhere...
They're dreaming.
They're dreaming.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, A, it's that we don't have the technology. B, we won't be allowed. This is our planet for us. We've got to learn to look after it.
There's certain cosmic and spiritual laws that are not going to let
They're not going to
billionaires who are out of control egos.
Yes, yeah.
They're not going to be allowed to achieve those crazy, ridiculous goals of theirs.
As caretakers, we need a damn good retraining, don't we?
It's the ultimate qualification of consumerism. Oh, I've broken this planet, I'll move on to another one.
Yeah, we'll go to Mars.
Yeah,
we haven't found water there yet, but we'll go there.
We'll mess up that one. Honestly, it's the stupidest thing. And, at times I despair about humanity. But there is good news out there. There is young people coming through who have the skills and the ability and the race structure to take us through to the new age. But we have to give them space and room and listen to their voice. Currently, we're chopping them off at the knees because they're not working in the fossil fuel industry and they're not contributing to consumerism.
The people who are the exponents of the selfish, competitive model, it's a very hard model. It's a very hard model for them to let go, isn't it?
The argument is, of course, I'm all right, Jack. And that's a famous New Zealand mindset. I'm all right, Jack. I don't have to worry about anybody else. But that's not true. It's failed us. The me people are interested in capitalism because capitalism justifies greed and we have deified greed. And I'm not saying that capitalism or socialism, they're both extremes. I'm not saying socialism is right. They're both extreme behaviours. We need to find the middle ground. And I'd like that term, and Krem has used it, democratic socialism. Bernie Sanders uses the term democratic socialism. The most successful countries on this planet, Scandinavian countries, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, practice varying degrees of social democracy. We all want to live there. Free education, free healthcare.
But you've
so
got to
that
pay
we can develop.
And you've got to pay a reasonable level of tax to achieve that.
Absolutely. But the working people, the wage and salary earners in all Western modern democracies pay the bulk of the tax bill anyway. The only people not paying their share of tax are the wealthy. And if they did pay their share, there's tons of money. Bernie Sanders has done the numbers in the States. If the 1% in America that controls 50% of that nation's wealth started paying their taxes, they could have free education.
This is the Emergence News on Plains FM. For more information, go to shareinternational.org.
What does Jeffrey Sachs say, Peter?
Yes, from the Share International magazine, Jeffrey Sachs says if the US and the UK have any shame, they will welcome Palestine as a UN member state. This week, the US and UK have the chance to correct decades of their blatant geopolitical errors in the Israeli-Palestine conflict by welcoming Palestine as the 194th United Nations member state. More than any other countries, the US and the UK have wrecked the Middle East through their non-stop meddling and imperial arrogance. This week, they have the chance to make some amends. A total of 139 countries already recognise the state of Palestine, more than two-thirds of the United Nations member states. Several European states will soon join the list, yet the US has so far blocked Palestine's membership in the UN, and the UK always sticking close to the US lead. Both have relentlessly backed Israel's apartheid rule over Palestine and are currently actively backing Israel in its horrific destruction of Gaza. This week, most likely on Friday, the US Security Council will vote in favour. I think they voted against that, didn't they? So this is taken a wee while ago. If the US and the UK don't block it yet again with their veto, back in 2011, Palestine had the support of the UN Security Council for membership, except the US force the Palestinians to accept observer status instead of promising full membership would soon follow yet another US deception. No countries in the world have done more to wreck the Middle East than the UK and the US. The lead role certainly goes to Britain, whose imperial machinations in the region date back to the 19th century.
All this information can be found on the Share International website, www.share-international.org, and also don't forget the podcasts, which are available on the Plains FM website.
We welcome your comments, questions and feedback. Please contact us at emergencenews@gmail.com.